Yes. It's your boy back in the building. Yeah. 2022. A dub deuce. That's what I'm talking about. Frames and flops. We back with another episode. Episode 6 coming in hot. I'm not even going to waste times with the pleasantries. Y'all know who y'all are. Y'all listening. I appreciate y'all. We going to keep on doing the doggone thing. But this episode, we talking about Outriders. New Horizons. Oh, man. I hope y'all feel the energy because this is going to be a good one. I put a lot of time into this one. I'm still putting a lot of time into this one. And I hope I convince some of y'all to put a lot of time in it too. Come rock with your boy because I'm tired of playing by myself. As I just mentioned, Outriders is the game we talking about today on Frames and Flops. I'm going to jump right into it. The story. You start off, you find out that Earth is tore up. There's a lot of civil war going on and people trying to get away. So y'all get on this spaceship and y'all go into space. And then y'all find this planet called Enoch. Shout out to my dog Enoch. You know who you are. Y'all end up exploring as a group called the Outriders because everyone else just passengers. They they just chilling in cryo sleep. And y'all go out and y'all start messing around being colonizers. You know, good old Earthlings love colonizing some shit. And after y'all explore a little bit, there's an anomaly and people start throwing up black goo and getting powers and it's just all chaos and then all hell break loose and then you end up sleep yourself for 30 years or something like that. And you wake up and then that planet ain't no better than Earth the way y'all left it. So that's how you start the game. And then from there it's just all over the place. You're trying to figure out it's a signal that you getting from one of your other ships. You're trying to get to this signal and explore the place and understand what's happening. And the best part about the story is it really don't take itself serious. So don't play this game looking for some doggone, Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg type story. This ain't that, and they know it ain't that. So don't expect it to be that. It's fun though. It's a good time. You can enjoy it. It's, I say, don't take yourself serious, but at the same time, it has a pretty good premise. So, jump into it with an open mind, enjoy the cheesy dialogue, and have fun with it. So, that's pretty much the gist of it. And once you get to the end, you fight this ugly man, ugly man, monster, whatever you want to call it. And you're trying to get drop pod resources. So that brings you to the end game. So you found the signal, and then you uplink and connect it with the signal, and it's dropping pods down from outer space from this other ship that's been floating up there. And that's the end game. You got to go and find these doggone resources in expeditions. So that's going to bring us to the gameplay. You have 4 classes to choose from. You can either be a Technomancer. Technomancer is the class that's all about freezing enemies, freezing them, or using poison. And you can, as the name say, Techno, you can conjure up some guns, a minigun and a rocket launcher and little mines that you can throw out and blow people up with. And that's the premise of the Technomancer, and that's the class that I just started a week ago. And it's honestly kind of been the best class that I've played with so far. Next, you got the Pyromancer. The Pyromancer is all about fire, as the name hints. You sling fire waves, you shoot fireballs, you can bring up mini volcanoes underneath people's feet. You can turn them into ash. You can put a burn on them. And that's the basis of that class. It's all about fire, putting out the fire. Not putting it out, but throwing it out. And then you got a Devastator. A Devastator is all about being in the enemy space, up close and personal. It's based on rock, Earth. Well, not Earth, Enoch. You can encase yourself in rock and become a golem and beat people up with your rock hands and all whatnot. You can slam onto the ground and create little tremors and earthquakes, and that'll put a bleed on your enemies. You can create something called a tremor with another little mini earthquake where it just kind of pulsates for every few seconds, and then that just messes your enemies up. Or you can do something called a gravity leap where you jump up in the air and then come down, and you it's pretty neat. They just explode and blow up, blood and guts everywhere. And then you got what they got. Oh, reflect bullets. You can just put your hands up and reflect bullets and sling them back at your enemies. And something like a black mass where you turn the enemy into a black hole and it pulls enemies together and damages them. Pretty cool, man. It's not the class that people rush towards because it's not really a class that you output a lot of damage with. You can if you know all the hacks and tricks and get all the mods just right. But for the most part, it's a support class and stay alive class. Next, you got the Trickster, the last one. Now, this one I have not played with. I've played every other class except this one. The Trickster is all about slowing down time and using your little blade to cut up your enemies. And I'm sure it's a whole lot of other stuff that I honestly just don't know. I'm keeping it real with y'all. I haven't played it yet, but it's next because I'm going to have every class and level them up all the way. But that's the basis of the gameplay with your classes. And as each class, the goal is to constantly be moving and putting out damage, because it may seem like you supposed to use cover because the people that made this game, they helped make Gears of War. And if you know Gears of War, it's all about running behind cover and shooting. But it has that feel to it, but this ain't that. The cover is for the enemies. You supposed to be blowing up enemies, whether it be the other humans or the little creatures. Blow them up, blood and guts everywhere. That's the way you stay alive in this game, and they make it a fact. It's not a trick. That's what you do. You make your character, you get your guns, your mods, and you make sure that you are blowing up the enemies. That's the gameplay. The whole premise is to spam your abilities. That's how they make this. That's how they made this game. It's not to be conservative and use your abilities at the right time like Destiny or maybe some other games. It's about spam your abilities. You get 3 abilities to choose from out of, I think it's 6 or 7 that you can choose from. You pick 3 and you spec into them and you spam them. And then your guns are essentially there to help proc modifiers or proc poison or freeze or bleed or something onto your enemies to help output the damage with your abilities. So guns are important. They cool. You get good mods with them that help your damage, but the whole goal is to spam them abilities, dog. The next thing we're going to talk about is kind of the system and how everything works. So really, with this game, I mentioned about spamming your abilities and getting armor and guns. You get a lot of resources to level up those guns and armor and find mods. And that's they pretty much encourage you to. It's not one where they're really stingy with it. The only thing that is the higher level you go, the more it costs. But if you're really grinding, you will have the materials to level up whatever you want to. So don't be scared to use your resources. Use them resources. And the best part about it is, with Discord, YouTube, Reddit, you can Twitter, hell, you can find people that'll tell you kind of the best builds to spec into. So once you kind of get the armor pieces and the guns you want, you can level it up and don't even worry about anything else. Just use everything else dismantle for materials. So don't be scared to use your materials. They're not stingy with them. It's not locked out on some weekly frequency or whatever the case may be. Get them, use them. I love that about this game. What's next is the skill tree. So I mentioned earlier you got 3 abilities that you can use, but you have 3 branches that you can spec into for your abilities that maximize your abilities. So, for example, the what I'm doing now, the Technomancer, you have a tree that you end up specking into long distance, shooting with your sniper, and you get a lot of different bonuses and perks for specking in that tree. It's the top tree. The middle tree is more of a, health, regen your health, freeze your enemies, and plays more safe. And the bottom one is more so about the poison and being more fast paced. But the cool thing about this game is they encourage you to experiment, try different things out. You don't end up being locked out of, oh, well, I put my resources in this type of build and I want to try something different, but then it's going to take forever to grind the materials to try something different. Or I got to, like I keep referring to Destiny, you got to reset your artifact that costs a whole lot of dang on glimmer. It's just ridiculous. So what this game does is you can reset that skill tree anytime you want at no cost. No cost. And you don't even have to spec into, like how I mentioned, the top tree, the middle tree, the bottom tree. You can mix and match as long as there's a line that connects one of the nodes or modules to another one. You can go all over the place and find what you want, long as they connect. And it's the possibilities is ridiculous. For the most part, like I said, you'll end up finding out what is the best route to take and upgrade yourself, because you get 20 points all together once you get up to your level. And shit, man, once you find that one or that for that type of build that you want, you'll end up sticking with it. But at the same time, as you progress, when things aren't as hard or when you just want to drop the level down, you can just try different things and see how it feels. And when I say drop the level down, so here's the other thing about this game, is the difficulty. You pretty much can set how difficult you want the game to be. So, for example, you start out in world tiers. That's how you start the story out. And you go all the way up to world tier 15. But the higher you go, the harder the game is going to be. So the enemies are going to be so many levels above you, but you'll get gear and guns that will be so many levels above you as well. So it's kind of a way to keep some checks and balances to where you make it difficult, but you get the rewards that's worth it. And at the same time, whether you just want to be more casual, you can drop it down and maybe have the enemies one level above you to where it's not too easy, but it ain't so hard to where you struggling. And the same thing. So once you get to the end game, you got challenge tiers. And it's the same premise. You're trying to work all the way up to 15. And when you get to 15, that's the hardest it's going to get. But you get so many rewards and guaranteed loot drops. So all the loot drops are RNG based, and RNG is random number generation. It's just random. You don't get to choose what you get. But the harder you decide to play this game, the hardest level you decide to play it on, the better rewards you're gonna get, the better chances that you're gonna get some of the epic and legendary gear that you really want for the best mods, the best guns. And that's how they got this game set up. And that's pretty much the basis of the gameplay system. Destroy shit, level up, keep on destroying shit, get the mods that you want. Now we get to what's bad about the game, because I'm sure y'all all know there's been a lot of drama regarding this game, a lot of nonsense, and I'm gonna keep it 100. So you got, as I just mentioned, you got a lot of RNG, so there's no way to target the loot that you want. Up until recently, they made some changes to where you get a little bit of better chance to find exactly what you want, but I'll cover that in my next section. But when the game launched, there was no way to target loot. Now there's been things posted online in the Reddit to say, well, if you do this particular hunt or bounty, that you can possibly get this specific gun, but none of that's really been proven. It's just people speculating, but whatever. And then there's a lot of lag and rubber banding when you playing co-op, because the game, it has a host server that you connect to, but then after that it's kind of a peer-to-peer, I believe. So depending on who you hooked up with when you do just a random, matchmaking, you might have a bad experience, no lie. And it was really bad at one point, but they made improvements, and I'll talk about that later. But it still exists. It still points times when I'm like, man, damn, boy, this ain't feeling good, because you stuttering and you feel like you're running in place sometimes. It sucks, but for the most part, that's been cleared up. Now, at the same time, it's a lot of good stuff going on with this game as far as being an action looter shooter. But we know that for the most part, looter shooters, they live off of engagement and fresh content. The more new content you put in, the more you incentivize people to keep grinding and getting the loot to face the new content. Unfortunately, this game is not a live service game. Now, I say that unfortunately just because unless you really, really do enjoy it like I do and a lot of other people do, you might lose incentive to keep playing. But at the same time, I appreciate it not being a live service, because it's too many live service games already and that FOMO. So I appreciate a new game coming out that's not really preying on the FOMO. Is you play it when you want to play it, you grind how you want to grind, and then you get it when you get it. And if they decide to drop some DLC, then you'll play that whenever it drops. But in the meantime, in between time, feel free to play something else, or feel free to keep grinding this game and mastering this game and getting everything that it is to get. So I do appreciate that. And another bad thing is when you're playing by yourself, you cannot revive yourself. Now, I don't know why they done this, and I believe they've just recently, at the New Year, their newsletter, they mentioned that they've seen the feedback and they want to maybe do something about that. But when you play with other people, you get a certain amount of revives in each section. But when you by yourself, when you go down, unless you got one of the abilities that kind of does a self res, self revive. But if not, you donezo. So that is something I do not like. They should at least, if they can have the option for playing co-op, they should have the option for playing solo. And the last thing that I don't particularly care about is that there's no loadout. So you can't get a set of guns and armor and mods that you really want and just lock it, or have it to where if you want to try something different and you swap things around, you can just click a button and put everything on that you really want, your main loadout. They don't have that, and you cannot lock your gear. So if you mess around and do a mass delete on for some reason, or you just hit one of the hit the button to where you are going to just dismantle something by accident, then shit, you lost it. So, it's not the end of the world, but I do not like that, and I think that's a bad thing. Everything I said has been essentially how the game started from launch back in April of 2021. So in November, they had a New Horizons update. It was free. They added 3 new expeditions and a couple new guns, and they added Transmog. So Transmog is short for transmogrification. That is in a game you can take one, say you're wearing a particular helmet and it has the stats that you like, but there's another helmet that just looks better, but the one you wearing is boo-boo. It look ugly. What Transmog is, you can take the one that's fire, you can take that, Lord, I can't talk. You can take that one and make the one that you're wearing look exactly like that one. And you can do that with any gun, any other armor piece. You can look exactly how you want to look. Now, this was a new introduction into Destiny earlier this year, and they did it trash, and I still don't like it. Bungie ain't shit for that. They made it to where you have to either pay real life dollars to do this or do some extraordinary grind to get just a few of the currency to allow you to transmog armor that you already paid for. I've been paying for Destiny since 14, 13, whenever it came out. Destiny 2, whenever that came out, 2017. Every expansion, every DLC. So everything in that game I paid for, but they're telling me if I want to look a certain way, I got to pay them again or spend a stupid amount of time to only get a few of what I want per season. It's stupid. But with People Can Fly, the developers, what they did is they made Transmog completely free. It don't cost no in-game currency. It don't cost no real dollars. If you found something that you like and you want to look like that, all you got to do is earn it. Once you earn it, it's in your Transmog stash. You don't got to dismantle it. You don't got to do nothing. You can look exactly the way you want to look. It don't matter what class you are. None of that. You can look exactly how you want to look, long as you have earned that gear. Love that. Love it, love it, love it. The next thing is the expeditions, the end game that I mentioned. They started out with timers. So what people would do is pretty much end up speccing into one particular build that's high damage output, and that pretty much stifled the meta. So people really didn't want to experiment. It was all about how much DPS you put out, how much DPS you put out. Now they take away the timers because you don't have to complete the expedition in whatever timing tier, those bronze, silver, or gold. That's gone. Now you still can do that if that's what you so desire. If you want to see how fast you can do it with the timer, help yourself. But they took that away as a requirement. So now people can experiment, have different builds, take their time, and clear the expedition and get guaranteed loot. Love that. Love that, love that, love that. And then the next thing is, speaking of loot, they improved the loot chance drops. So without the timer, they pretty much took in the average completion time for each different expedition and put a flat drop rate chance on each type of gear, whether it be epic or legendary, or they have it to where you complete it, you're gonna get something to drop for you. And they've tried to put a system to where they've reduced the amount of duplicates you get. Don't know how well that's working, but it's supposedly in the game. And also with New Horizons, after they made a lot of nerfs. And nerfs, if you don't know, are when they pretty much take something that was strong and make it weak, like a Nerf gun, essentially. So someone had a real gun and then they made it a Nerf gun. So they made a lot of nerfs. People didn't like that, but then they buffed a lot of stuff once New Horizons came and balanced some things. So now the game feels real good when it comes to damage taken and damage put out. So a lot of good things with this new update, and it's a real good time to get into this game, I promise you. And I am the one to help. Trust me, it's cross-platform. So if you on PC and I'm playing on Xbox, we can play together. Any platform you can play with each other. So it's worth trying, I promise you. And it's on Game Pass. So if you got Game Pass, you can get on and have fun with it. And it's been on sale for the longest, so you can spend $19-20. Have at it. Oh, what's also neat is they've and I skipped all over this in the systems, but this, if you are really into the numbers of an RPG game, an action game, and understanding how much damage you did, this is the game for you too. Because they really, at the end of every expedition, they gave a breakdown of how the total amount of damage that you put out, and then you can see what mod that you had equipped was doing all the damage, or you can see which one of your guns was doing all the damage, or how much damage that you took, or how much damage that did you reflect or mitigate. So it's a lot of numbers for the people that love stats. So it's like I said, it's really worth a shot. It's a very good game that came out with some issues. They've worked hard to try to mitigate those issues and get it right. And they also have some DLC planned for 2022. So it's worth looking into. And I'm sure you probably can tell what I'm gonna rate this game based on how I've talked about this, the energy I've had for this one. I gave this game 2 ratings. When it first started, it was borderline Reggie, and that's the first for frames and flops. I'd say it was some Reggie, maybe some low grade mid when it first dropped. But with all the changes that they made, this game right now, and it might surprise you, it's not fire. It's not fire yet simply because it's not enough people playing. If there were more people playing to populate the games to where you're not waiting maybe 2 minutes to connect with people when you're matchmaking, this game would be fire. But for now, it's some mid. It's some high grade mid right now. But it's on the cusp of being some fire. And that's what frames and flops is giving it. It's not a flop. It was about to be a flop. It really was. But they stepped the frames up, and it's on the path to being some fire if we get more people playing. So y'all need to play this damn game, man. I'm telling you, it's a downtime right now. You got a few weeks before everything pop off in February. Man, come play with me. I won't take my ball back. I promise I won't. So it's a lot of opportunities, a lot of options to play with. Excuse me. I don't got Omarion, I promise. I'm just I'm talking and I ain't had no sip of water. My throat dry. And for the news, man, a lot of news, and this podcast is already pushing the 30-minute limit, and we might be a few minutes over, but I think y'all might like listening to me just a little bit to where y'all won't mind if I go over maybe 5-6 minutes. But CES is this week, Consumer Electronics Show. And this is where all the tech that's coming out either this year or in the future is revealed or given release dates. If you are into tech, any type of tech, this is the show for you. Now you can go on YouTube and watch all kinds of recaps from the different vendors. And man, look, they got a lot of good stuff coming out. So there's a lot of news coming up. So this one might be pretty long, and because I'm just excited of everything that's coming out in technology. And this is not the memory of the week, but I regret not getting into tech and computer science. I'll never forget, right after or right before graduation of high school, I was in the yard with my old man. He was feeding the chickens, and he hollered at me, "Hey boy, what are you going to school for again?" I say, "Nuclear engineering." He said, "Engineering? Boy, you better go learn computers." In his old country way. If y'all know who know me, know my old man. He ain't never told me wrong. I think so highly of him. He ain't never told me wrong, and I regret it to this day that I never learned computers like he told me to. Because clearly the future is in technology and learning, coding and so anywho, let me quit rambling. Nvidia had their showcase. Nvidia, they make graphics cards and even chipsets, not chipsets like AMD, not computer processors, but they have a key stakeholder in that for what they're trying to do. They just announced the 3090 Ti, but apparently I've been saying that wrong, and other YouTube influencers have been saying the Ti wrong, because this old white guy that was giving this dang on presentation kept saying the 3090 Ti. I said, a Ti? What are you talking about? Do you not know your products? But apparently it's the 3090 Ti, and that's of course the top of the top of the top of the top of the line when it comes to graphics cards. And they also have GeForce Now. That's their streaming platform for PC games. So they added a lot of new games, and then you can even stream your games if you have a LG or Samsung Smart TV. With you can stream your game onto the TV through GeForce Now. That's pretty slick. So you don't even need to add an extra peripheral to your TV. Just download the service and stream it if you got a good enough internet connection. That's pretty jam up. I like that. And again, with streaming, with the cloud gaming, if you have AT&T and you are somewhere with 5G, they have optimized that GeForce Now to stream the game so you can play anywhere on the go. That's pretty slick. And they also have partnered up with these monitor makers. So for example, you can get a esports monitor that's 144 hertz at 1440p at 27 inches. And if you know anything about how frames and flops, and the resolution work, the higher the resolution, the lower your frame rate is going to be for the most part. So when people say 4K 60, that's pretty much kind of the bottleneck, because trying to produce so many pixels in that resolution with such a high frame rate is pretty hard. But now they've had the technology to where you can get a nice 27-inch monitor, and if you really are a competitive gamer, this is something you need to be looking at. You're ready to spend a few $1,000s, but if you win money by playing games, hey, that's for you. And now they've announced an RTX 3050, which would be on the low end of the 3000 series graphics cards, but it's essentially the upgraded RTX 1050, and that's pretty much you get 1080p, 60 frames, 60, 80 frames, but this one actually has ray tracing now, and it's for $250. Now, $250 is the MSRP, but you ain't gonna pay $250 for no graphics card right now, especially not a brand new one that can do what it can do. You will end up spending $500 on the low end, I promise you that. But it's an option, should be more affordable. So if you still, like I said, trying to build a PC, that could be an option for you, and that's coming out this year. And so next, well, before I skip to the next part, still with gaming and CPUs, they have a CPU optimizer in their newer graphics cards. So it'll kind of interface. You put in a NVIDIA graphics card in your system, it'll be able to kind of work with your CPU and optimize that CPU. So if you're running something that doesn't need all of the cores, so you hear a 3-core, 5-core, 7-core CPU, they have it to where it's interlocked to where the GPU is only going to take what it needs. So you're saving energy at your CPU, thus improving performance, because the hotter your CPU and GPU get, the worse it performs. So that's pretty slick. I do like that. And now, the next coolest thing I want to chat about is how they are really getting involved into the auto industry. As we all know, half the chip shortage issues from 2021 was due to auto manufacturers not having the computer chips for these newer model cars, because even just a regular gas guzzling vehicle, they have so many computers in these cars nowadays, they just didn't have the chips to get them operational and running. So without that chip, a lot of cars just been sitting, being wasted. But they are working with a lot of other electric vehicle manufacturers that's not Tesla to make state-of-the-art cars, electric cars that will drive you with a system called the Omniverse. So it's autonomous driving, and they have two versions of it. You have the chauffeur, which is essentially just driving. It'll take you from point A to point B, and you can just sit back and, you know, sip some coffee and be on your phone, and your car gonna take you where you want to go. And then they have the concierge, which is Siri times 100. So the concierge, it's going to drive you the way you want to go, but at the same time, you can talk to it, and it'll tell you what's on your schedule. You can add stuff to your schedule. You can order stuff while you just riding. Man, this is some wild shit. The Jetsons is finally coming to fruition. I saw a meme on Twitter the other day that said, man, when I was a kid, I thought by 2022 we'll have flying cars. And then someone went on Google and found out that Elroy Jetson wasn't freaking born until 2022. So look here, it's happening, man. So it's a big deal. You know, the future is going to be electric vehicles, man. It's pretty eye opening, and I never thought it would be, but here we are. And they put out some pretty big statistics to show that, hey, look, even with so many drivers on the road, there is such a shortage of drivers to get things around due to the pandemic, whether it be people are sick, millions of people have died. At the same time, the manufacturers are producing more than they've ever produced, and they just don't have enough people to put it out in the stores. So the next step is going to be autonomous driving, is having, you don't have to worry about people falling asleep, or God forbid, you know, you had this one young man that messed up and killed some people. Just, you know, I forget his name, but situations like that where you take away the human element and you just put these cars on the road that can just go. The future is gaming, man. Not gaming, but the future is electric and tech. Man, and that's just one. So AMD, I'm rambling because I'm approaching 40 minutes, and if y'all still here, I appreciate it. But I'm excited, and this is a lot of good news, man. We got AMD, which is another of the big players in tech computer gaming space. They have the Ryzen and Radeon. They have a new chip series, the 6000 series coming out, and they have a slim model and an M model for the high end. So the slim, it will be for your notebooks, and then your M would be for the big thicker stuff that's for serious gaming and processing power that you would need. They also have a RTX 6500 XT, and that's another GPU that's supposed to be consumer friendly at $199, but again, expect to pay double that. And they've also had a hand in a lot of the notebooks, say from Lenovo or whoever else. They have their chipsets in these laptops to where somehow they're saying you're able to get 24 hours of use on one battery charge, that they're so efficient. So pretty good news. Ryzen 7000 chip series, that's the next thing coming out. And maybe in a year, when I can save up and get my hands on one, that's how I'll upgrade my rig and get one of these super high fast processing chips from Ryzen, because I love Ryzen. I'm an AMD guy. I got an AMD, like I said in my last episode. My thing is built up from AMD to my graphics card to my chips. And also they said they have new 3D tech for these chips, so for the cache. So what that means is they'll have a very short, small database that they can continuously reference and not have to continuously compute and make, you know, these assets when you're trying to build something. And this is mainly for designing. So someone that's doing a lot of designing is not using up so much bandwidth to try to render these new these images that they're trying to design. So that's pretty cool, and you should definitely go check that out. Now I'll link every demonstration in my YouTube. Next, you got some gaming news. PlayStation finally announced the PSVR 2, and the first game that they're going to have is for Horizon Zero Dawn is going to have a VR version of that game, and that looks pretty doggone jam up. You know, they're talking about how the VR headset is going to be able to track your eyes so you can kind of look and not have to turn your head. A lot of good tech coming out, man. Then some other gaming news. You got Ubisoft Plus coming to Xbox. Ubisoft is a big game developer, and they are having their own version of Netflix essentially for gaming, and they're putting it on the Xbox. It's been on PC, but now it's coming to Xbox to where you can subscribe if you really love Ubisoft games. So that's your Far Cry, your Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs, stuff like that. And in other news, you got PSN, PlayStation Network, and Discord. PlayStation actually last year invested in the Discord only for a small percentage. And with that, there was a promise of being able to integrate your Discord into your PlayStation Network, your home screen, or possibly while you're on the Discord app, people can see what games you're playing on PlayStation and maybe do a party chat through PSN, and that's pretty slick. So for cross-platform games, you might be able to have a little bit better communication through Discord. Oculus, they have a new DJ game called Tribe, and I think I want to try that. I told my wife that I don't really care about using her Oculus, but that DJ game looks pretty cool. So it's essentially where it's a sim. You put it on, and you pretty much get to all that good stuff like you a DJ. And I just want to try it. It looks fun. And then now the last thing I want to mention real quick is the new types of TVs is coming out. You know, OLED was the new hotness not too long ago. Now Sony and Samsung have announced the QD OLED. This essentially where it's more saturation, the colors look more vibrant. It's gonna cost a lot of money, and I just got a new TV, and I ain't buying a new TV for a few years. So when QD is old news, that's when I'll get it, and then by that time it'll be QZP OLED. So who knows? But Lord have mercy, I've been talking and talking and talking. My memory of the week, man, I don't even have memory of the week. I'm just tired of talking, and I'll tell y'all next week what the memory is going to be. Overall, I just thank y'all for listening. I really enjoyed this episode. I had a lot of passion, a lot of fun for Outriders. I hope y'all give it a try. Please hit me up. If you got my personal line, hit me up. If you in Discord, hit me up. I'm on Twitter, YouTube. Leave a review. Ask, hey, if you want to play Outriders, leave your game tag. I will rock some Outriders with you. I promise you. I won't leave you hanging. As always, like, share, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. You know, tell a friend to tell a friend. I'm just trying to grow and get my voice out there, because I just, like I said, I love this, man. I really do love this. And I appreciate y'all. I'm trying to get a streaming schedule set up, because I streamed a few times on YouTube. So hopefully, if I stick with it, I'm gonna get a schedule. I'm gonna let y'all know. But as always, go to the YouTube, check out some of my gameplay footage. This podcast is gonna be on YouTube with gameplay footage. Like, comment, all that good stuff. I'll catch y'all later. I'm tired of talking. Frames and flops, we out.
Thank you all for tuning in to Frames and Flops. Bye bye.